Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to learn how to make these cute baby trainers. So I will attach the template that I used down in the description box below, so make sure that you check that out. So I've just printed this off on A4 paper and I've cut out all the different sections. So we've got the sole, the toe cap, the tongue, the inside and the outside of the edge of the trainers. So for these ones it's for a girl's baby shower cake. So I'm going to stick with some girly colours. So I'm just going to go for white and pink. So I'm going to roll out some white just for the sole of the shoe. Now you need to bear in mind that it needs to be slightly thick so that when we stick the edges of the trainers around, it's got something to stick to. So I'm just going to flip it over. So obviously I get a left foot and a right foot rather than two of the same foot. And I'm just using my scalpel just to cut around the edges. Once you've taken that off, you may just need to smooth around the edges just to make sure that there's no indentations or anything. And then we're going to pop them over to one side to dry. Now I'm going to roll some pink. So this is just some baby pink. And this is going to be what's used for the tongue of the trainer. So we're going to cut two of these out again, so you can see the thickness that I've got it there. You kind of want it thick enough that it can hold itself up. I'm using Saraceno Pasta Model today, which is really good at firming up quite quickly and not taking too long to dry. So I'm just going around the edges, getting as close to the paper as I can, and I'm just using my scalpel just to pick up the paper so that I'm not using my nails and digging into what I've already cut out. You may need to put some corn flour just on the top just to stop the paper from sticking. It just depends on what the humidity is like where you are. So again, you might need to just smooth over any edges. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get some tissue paper or some kitchen roll ready to stuff behind the tongue, just to make sure that it's holding itself up. So you can see I've got my foot and we're just going to place it around the bottom. So we really want to wrap the bottom of the tongue around the bottom of the shoe. So that's going to be baby's toe. And I'm just pushing it in, making sure that it's all smoothed out, there's no creases or anything like that. And I'm making sure that it's pushed well and truly in. So I've just got sort of like a little plastic knife and I'm just running around the edges for that. Now I want the tongue to stick up a little bit more, so I'm going to cut my tissue paper in half. I'm going to stuff that back in. And then I'm going to stuff some more in. So what you need to make sure is that you're not pushing it. So you can see there where I've got that little bit of a bulge. We don't want that. We kind of want it to sit up and be as smooth as possible. So I'm just going to build in gently to make sure that I've got that smooth transition from the front of the trainer to the top of the trainer. Just have a play around with it until you're happy. You do have time to, change the shape of this one. So this is what it should look like from the side. There should be no white visible from the front of the trainer at all. We're going to pop that to one side to dry. Now we're going to cut the side of the trainers out. So I'm going to do some pink on the inside of this trainer. And then I'm going to do white on the outside. So if you guys use this tutorial, feel free to use any colours that you want to do. Feel free to tag me in Facebook or Instagram if you end up making it. We'd love to see what colour combinations you guys come up with. So just the same as before, I'm going to trim around the edge of this silhouette that we've got here for the inside of the trainer. Now this is slightly bigger than the outside of the trainer, so when you put the two together, you should be able to see the white against the pink or whatever variation of colour it is that you use. So pop that to one side, and we're going to roll out some white. And this part doesn't need to be too thick, because remember you're putting both of them together. So together they should kind of be the same thickness as the sole of the shoe. So my fondant, or my Saraceno, is getting a bit sticky, so I'm just putting some corn flour down just to stop that from sticking. And I'm not applying too much pressure with my fingers when I'm holding the paper in place. We're just going to follow that guideline all the way around. And then we're going to take our stitching tool and we're going to mark in these marks that we've got from the side of the trainers. So we're going to do the bit where the laces are first. I'm just marking it in lightly and then going over it with the stitching tool, and then I decided I was just going to freehand it. So just going around the edges. Now I used to have a smaller stitching tool which would be perfect to sort of get around the bends on this one, but for the life of me I can't find it, so I'm using this bigger one. But I will put a link in the description box for the smaller version, because it is a lot easier to use. Then we're just going to mark in the lines, and then the same at the other side. And then we're going to put in 4 holes, and these are going to be for the laces. So I've just got a really small ball tool, and I'm just roughly guessing, trying to get them the same on either side. So once we've done that, we're now going to attach the two together. So I'm just going to use a little bit of water. Now when we place this on, we don't want to place it so the two bottoms are touching. You kind of want to leave a tiny little gap all the way around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim off the bit at the bottom. So you can see how you can see the inside of the trainer now. And that's that tiny little bit at the bottom, and we're just going to chop that off. It just gives us a really nice, neat join at the bottom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around the trainer. And so for us to be able to do that, we need to just cut out the toe of the shoe. Now it's up to you what colour you want to do this. I decided to go with white. I just thought the white would be a nice touch against the pink. So you're going to cut out 2 of these, because you'll need 1 for each foot. When we're putting this on, we kind of want to wrap it again around the base of the shoe that we've got, so that you can't see any of the pink along the bottom side. So just smoothing over the edges, and I'm using my knife just to pick them up so I don't mess around with the shape. And I'm going to put a line across the top just to be the sort of like the stitching. So you can see I'm just popping that on the front, and again I'm going to use the plastic knife just to go around the bottom. This just helps tuck in the fondant and remove any lumps and bumps, and just a little bit of water to stick that down. And then when it comes to sticking the side of the train around, so you can see it's all neatly joined at the bottom there. We only want to wet the bottom part, because that's going to be the bit that's going to stick to the sole of the trainer. I'm going to start off just pushing it in around the bottom and trying to stay with the shape of the foot that we've got. So you'll notice that one side the foot comes in, and you kind of want to keep that shape with the trainer, and that just helps you differentiate between the left foot and the right foot. And just a tiny little bit of water. You really don't want to use too much, because when you come to take the tissue out, it'll all be stuck together. But you should have something that's looking like this by now. So you're just pushing in until you're happy with the shape and the position of everything. And so the only bit that's not really in the template is the bit that goes around the bottom of the shoe and the laces. But they are just sort of like long strips of fondant, fairly easy to cut out yourselves. So you can see I've rolled out a strip of fondant and we're just going to cut some lines, and this is going to be for the base of the trainer. I would say it's probably about 1/2 centimetre thick, maybe a little bit less. I'm not very good at cutting identical straight lines, so I cut a few and I pick the two that match the most. I just find it the easiest way to do it. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to wrap it around the base of the trainer. And this is going to hide obviously all the joins at the bottom, and it's going to give us our sole for our shoe. Now I'm starting at the back, and because I don't want there to be a very noticeable join, I'm joining it at the front of the shoe, because this is where I'm going to push in the fondant around the toe anyway, and so obviously if I join it there, it's not going to look as noticeable. With the other side, I'm just going to go in with the plastic knife and just push it in, and just making sure that it's nice and tight and that we're not going to have any gaps or anything like that. So it should look like that. So you can texture that if you want, guys, or you can add a pattern or whatever. And then we're just going to do exactly the same, but just on a bit of a smaller scale, and we're just going to cut some more strips, and these are going to be for the shoelaces. So these need to be probably slightly thinner, and I'm going to cut a few and pop them to one side whilst I'm cutting. It just makes them firm up a little bit. And then what we're going to do is, you can do the shoelaces however you want to do them. If you want to do a specific pattern, I have crisscrossed at the back. So I think I crisscrossed twice, and then I've done the laces just going straight over. So when it comes to crisscrossing, we're going to take a strip of fondant. I'm going to sort of try to measure it against the shoe, and I'm going to stick it down with a little bit of water. So I'm putting my water where I want it to go, and then I'm just going to chop it in half, and then I'm going to cut. You can see I've just cut the edge off to make it nice and straight, and then I'm just going to snip the other edge with some scissors, and I'm going to use my Dresden tool to lift up the side of the shoe, and then pop that part in there. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. So once you've got the other side in, the shoe should still be flexible at this point, just to lift up and place the laces underneath. And then we're just going to place a lace that's going across the front. So you can see I've just zigzagged it there. And then we're going to do a strip across the front. So what I'm going to do with the strip across the front is, because this is going into the holes that are at the side of the shoe, I'm going to cut what roughly I think I need, and I'm just going to pinch the edges. And this is just going to make it so that the lace can actually look like it's slotting in the hole that we created earlier on. And I'm just going to use a little bit of water just to stick it on the side of the trainer. And then I'm going to use the Dresden tool just to push it in the hole, just to make it look like it's going in the side of the trainer. And you're going to do the same for the other side. So I just needed to trim that bit off a little bit, and I'm just going to reattach it to the side of the trainer. So you can see that's what it should look like. You can change the colour of the laces if you wanted to. And then I'm going to do another strip going across. And again, I'm just going to use the exact same method, cut it to size and pinch the edges. And you're just going to keep going with this method until you reach the end of the trainer. So after this one, I would then do another crisscross through the middle of the trainer, right up to the top. Now I left the top 2 holes empty, but you could go all the way up if you wanted. But once you've finished, you should have something that looks like this. And you should be able to remove the tissue. I just left it to dry for about an hour and I took the tissue out. Here's the cake that I made with them. I hope you've liked today's video. If you have, please click the links on the screen now to see more. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.